Common sense. Common sense, common sense, common sense. I am going to live, eat, breathe, teach, coach, preach from common sense. I refuse to make statements to protect myself because people don't want to live on common sense. I'm going to give you instruction. I'm going to teach you. I'm going to show you what the Bible says. I'm going to give you examples from the Bible. I'm going to give you examples from the world. I'm going to give you examples from my own life. But I'm going to do it from a common sense perspective. And I'm not going to allow anybody to say, well, you said this was going to work for me. This didn't work for me. You're the one to blame. It's like, if I tell you to drink water, I'm not going to tell you, consult your physician. If I'm going to give you exercise tips, I'm not going to tell you, consult your physician or check with your trainer for your own certain circumstance and situation and do your own research. I'll tell you to do your own research, but I'm not going to protect myself from people that want to say, well, you said this and it didn't work. Well, it's common sense. Do your own stuff. I'm not going to protect myself by doing that. And I'm forgetting what the phrase is. Those statements, those disclosures. I practice common sense. I do not give disclosures. So, I'm going to teach you some things about the Bible, about life, about what God says, and I'm going to say some radical things that are going to appear radical to everyone who hears them. But if people really want to know the truth and they read the Bible for themselves, the King James Bible for themselves, and study it out for themselves, for example, the King James issue. Why is this guy always saying King James? Instead of blowing me off, instead of saying, well, I use the New Living Translation, or I use the Message, or I use the New King James, and it does fine for me, and I love it, and you got some emotional attachment to it, you disregard what I say, then hey, that's on you. Common sense. I'm not going to make some disclosure statement about you got to figure this out for yourself. I mean, I'm going to tell you what the truth is, and you do with it what you want. I'm going to give you some success stories in my life, how I always telling people, hey, I'm still preaching and teaching from the trenches. And what I mean by that is I'm not at the success level that I know God's called me to be. I'm still divorced, but I know He's going to heal my marriage. I'm still living from job to job, day by day, week by week. My account is not where I know He's called it to be, but He's working, and I know what He's going to do. Okay? But I'm a coach that's coming to you from the trenches. I'm doing the sowing, I'm doing the work while I'm waiting on God. And mark these dates that you see these videos and realize there is going to be a day where Chris Huffman is on the platform. Chris Huffman has arrived. Chris Huffman is wealthy, and he's teaching, and he's somebody that's proven this. But I want to prove to you that it works from the trenches. You got to do the work when you're in the trenches. And so I'm going to give you personal examples of my own story, how I went from, never making $40,000 a year on a job to making $120,000 a year working for myself. Now, that ain't a whole lot of money. It's a whole lot of money for some people that most people ain't getting over $40,000 a year. I give you my stories. I can give you how I, went from $3,800 to $4,000 a month to having consistently $5,000 to $8,000 a month working for myself. Those are still small numbers, but they'll help some people. How then my next goal was $10,000 a month, and how I've had several $10,000 months. How I've had a couple $12,000 a month, and I think my highest was a $13,000 a month. Still numbers, but if you're only making $4,000 a month, still small numbers, but if you're only making, $4,000 a month, and then you start making $13,000 a month, that's a big jump. And now my goal is $30,000 a month. Okay, I got stuff I can tell you and help you. Okay, but I'm not going to put a disclosure statement in that. Common sense. I do what I say, practice some of these things, put these biblical principles into practice, and you'll start being blessed, and you'll start flourishing, and you'll start having some success. But I'm not going to put a disclosure statement in. Okay? If I start giving you some sort of exercise advice, I'm not an exercise guru. I'm not the most healthiest guy. I'm not trying to be the most buff guy, the most athletic guy, or bodybuilder type. I don't care. I may or may get a six-pack ab. I don't know. That's not a goal of mine. But I can tell you some ways to get in shape. I can tell you what I did to lose 40 pounds. I can tell you what I'm doing right now to stay in shape. You know, I'm in better shape at 50 years old than I was when I was 30. Okay, I got your normal aches and pains that come with old age, but I'm figuring out ways to combat that as well. I can give you some help, but I'm not going to give a medical disclosure. I'm not going to tell you to consult your physician. I'm not going to tell you to consult your gym trainer. I'm just going to practice common sense. I'm going to put it out there, and you just practice some common sense, do your own due diligence, and learn and grow. And I can guarantee you that if you do the things I'm saying, you're going to start experiencing some level of success. You are, but I don't know you. I don't know what you're going to do and what you're not going to do. But I know this, what I'm putting out is good, helpful, truthful, God-inspired, and it'll help you. But I'm going to live off common sense. Common sense. And I'm going to always endorse common sense. And I'm not going to do disclosures. I'm going to teach you stuff about masculinity and what that means, and get rid of all these silly, ungodly, wicked ideas that are floating around out there about what it means to be masculine, what toxic masculinity really is, and what people are calling toxic masculinity. And I'm going to give you some things that'll help you. You know, but you got to hunker down on your own. You got to decide whether you're going to believe this or not. You got to decide whether you're going to put this stuff into practice or not. I'm going to practice common sense. And I'm going to trust you to practice common sense. And if you don't want to practice common sense, then don't listen to me. If things don't work out for you, don't blame me. I'm not going to put disclosure statements out. I'm going to live for God, teach what He teaches, give you good examples, and try to help you. But let's practice common sense. Keep your eyes on Him.